Hello and welcome to Shanghai for the special mid-season invitational edition of PrimeTime League, where we take a look at Mata, Faker, and listen to the rest of the pros and mic check.
We'll also check in with OMG's Cool and see some of the sites around the city, as well as look at the top 5 biggest plays in the Penta.
Dude, the green screen is so much better than the last time I was on
Right?
PTL, especially this freak motion capture.
Crowd noise.
Looks so good. That's my cue though. PrimeTime League starts right now.
This will be Royal never giving up and taking an hour-long victory over the favorites from Korea.
And there goes the Nexus! LMS proving themselves today!
Counter Logic Gaming with the most unlikely victory.
Welcome to a special mid-season invitational edition of PrimeTime League, coming to you from Shanghai, for real this time. I'm Irving Division III, joined by this little Xiaolong Bao, David Freak Turley, and none other than Trevor Quickshot Henry here on the Pop Bar Terrace. Trevor, it's going to be a tough show, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you this right away. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Glad you're still here.
Fair, I think it's deserved.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not on vacation already.
All right, can we just keep this rolling?
There'll be more. We have a whole show to do this, but before we move on, we have to look back. We're going to take a look at the past few weeks of MSI with a little bit of MSI edition of this or that. You guys also have a chance to say the other thing if you want to. But first question coming to you guys, who was a bigger disappointment for their region? G2 and 8 only beating Turkey, or SKT getting 4th place?
I'm going to ignore the obvious story, which you guys have drilled home a lot. I think Korea. I think watching SKT almost look mortal, almost look weak at many times throughout the tournament was quite surprising. You know, coming in, there was all this hype, all this build-up. There was no doubt SKT were just going to win it, and then they drop a ton of games, lose 4 in a row. It was very surprising and shocking to me.
I'm actually going to take the 2 and 8 storyline, actually.
I'm not surprised.
Well, yeah, but it's not just because I want to like pile on the meme. I actually really dislike the attitude G2 took coming in. Like, look, you are representing Europe. You have millions of fans counting on you to do well, to represent your region, to, hell, seed well for Worlds or whatnot, and to be like, yeah, it's not important to us that our first national event goes well. We'll just sandbag and take 5th and you know, throw away Europe's chances and whatnot. Like, that sucks. And look, yes, you can do well at Worlds without a top seed. Coup Tigers last year were a pool 2 seed, made finals.
Yeah.
Okay, clearly you can do well without a good seed, but like, to me, it's a terrible attitude to come in, and the first time people get to really get behind your team, you're like, yeah, I don't care.
And I think it's just that like youthful exuberance, right?
Yeah.
We'll be good enough that even with a break and a reset, we're still going to keep up with the best in the world. And the answer is a resounding no.
Well, there's been a lot of passion behind the European region, kind of coaxing them to do better. Maybe they'll see that light. Moving on to the next question. This or that, gentlemen. RNG's group stage dominance or CLG finishing 2nd? Biggest surprise performance?
I'm going to say CLG. I think people came in and thought Royal was a top 2, a top 3 team, and no surprise if the Korean team doesn't do quite as well, SKT's down there, then okay, whoop, next up there's Royal, there's China. And as much as, okay, they kind of sucked at the end of 2015, people kind of knew Chinese League of Legends was really strong, so honestly, I'm not surprised Royal did well. CLG, though, was like the popular 5th place team.
I completely agree. And you look at the players as well. Everyone's like, hey, Doshan's going to choke again. Stixxay is like a terrible, he's 80 carries, he's not going to perform well. And these guys rock up and they shut everybody up. Like, Stixxay is the surprise performer of the entire tournament. And I actually think, just to very briefly talk about RNG, in the trailers and the build-up, and like who's going to own the Rift, LPL is its biggest weakness and strength. Because like, when China wins, they're dominant, but then China can also lose their own games. You look at the loss to CLG. CLG didn't win that game, right? Like, RNG handed it to them.
Royal lost it.
Royal lost it, and yes, look, CLG were good enough to catch. But I do think the biggest surprise in the big picture is CLG.
All right, moving on. MVP of the group stage. We're actually sticking with the same 2 teams. North America's Stixxay or China's MLXG?
I'm going to jump in there.
Okay.
And I think it's MLXG. I think there's been no other jungle that's even come close. I've still been impressed with some performances from Whoosh. You know, I've still been impressed with some performances from Bang, and like Stixxay is a surprise because you're expecting him to be down here and he's up there. But MLXG has just blown absolutely everybody out the water.
Yeah, in the context of best player at the tournament, hands down MLXG, and hell, hands down 4/5 of Royal Never Give Up. Like, yes, individually skill-wise, these guys are up there. That team is amazing, no surprises. As far as valuable player, though, team that would not win without this player, I actually think Stixxay actually might fit that bill, though. I think Royal would still do well with a slightly worse jungle than MLXG. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I think even though all of CLG are playing well as a team, Stixxay has to bring that home because Huhi's actually not doing that great in team fights, so they need an AD carry that team fights amazingly, and that is Stixxay.
What a world we live in.
It's great, right? Rookie AD carry putting on very, very good mechanical performances, and he's learned pretty quickly how to like play League of Legends pretty well.
Thank you guys for that, this or that. I could listen to it all day long, but it's now my time for an or that. So two of my favorite things about this mid-season invitational, having it not been dapping or Kobe going crazy in the booth, have been eating hot pot with MLXG and listening to the pros in mic check. And while I may have just hallucinated my dinner with RNG's jungler, the team comms are actually pretty damn cool. So go ahead and check it out in this special edition of Mic Check for MSI.
I'm so down though. I'm so frustrated after last game. Don't be
You should
frustrated.
forget about the last game.
I can't. I have good brain.
I'm everyday Kalista because I need to save my support.
Yes, I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
I really believe in you. We were kinda unfortunate in the last game, but I believe we can overcome it now, okay?
Nice.
I'm ending. Don't let them base. Oh, they're dead. Never mind. Never mind.
Good game, guys.
Yes, finally we win. Finally, guys.
Respect all, fear none. We don't want to give this team too much respect in any area. We don't want to fear them in any area.
Can we?
Trevor.
Yeah.
I'm ulting them. I got the dead. I zone that. I box Lucian. I'm bound Lucian. I bound Lucian. He's dead. Nice.
I'm gonna go now. I gotta go.
Nice.
Good job,
This
guys.
is the best region, boys.
boys!
把手放开，不问一句 ，Say goodbye。当做最后一次的溺爱，一定有一天我会站在世界之巅。
끝내요. 11호 갔어. 야, 태까지 기다려. 11호 왼쪽. 나이스. 나이스. 哎，中路，那个是波比仔哦，中路打闪了，哎呦，干好多人哦，我可以帮你补充，没关系，中路熊湾的，他看到了，
他又站，真的，快进去，来一次，
说的我傻逼了，哎呦，这个，直接狙吗？
All right, so we've heard what the pros have to say. We've rubbed a little NaCl into Quickshot's wounds, and now it's time to actually invite Ifya Shakstuporta to the analyst desk, to the table. I know I butchered your name. I do it all the time,
Yeah,
but I
no
still
problem,
love
no
you.
problem.
And Effie is here to help diffuse the glow that Freak and I are bringing to the table this episode of PrimeTime League. Thanks for joining us.
You were there for that
Quickshot's
too.
he's had a tough time, guys. Before we get into this series, let's take a look at the kind of regions that did advance to the knockout stage, the regions that will be playing against each other. On Friday, it's China's champions, Royal Never Give Up, taking on Korea's SKT T1, while Saturday will feature the surprising Counter Logic Gaming going up against the LMS's Flash Wolves. Now we're going to start with a bit of a deeper dive into this data. Friday's matchup, the LPL Spring Split champions and the defending world champions. These two teams ended the group stage with a world-class battle on Sunday. We all remember it. Now I want you to kind of pull from your minds that and tell me who's going to come out on top in that game coming up.
I think it'll actually be, it's tight. Like, it's super close. In my mind, I want to actually say it's LCK's. Well, no. I'm going to go ahead and say Royal. Because, well, thing is,
okay.
No. We're going to go with Royal. When they fought, both games were super close. Game one was a huge early game win for Royal, for China, and then it went down to like a 60-minute team fight that any team could have won. The second game they played, pretty much the same situation as well. Royal winning by a lot, super close as well. So, I don't know, it feels like the Chinese squad's more on point, and maybe if the Koreans shape up, they improve, but I think they're still the Chinese squad's the
I
favorite.
think the one thing that we have to keep in mind is that the two games that the RNG ended up losing, we all talk about how great their team fighting is, Mada's engages, this and that, but super late game versus SKT and versus CLG, the other team managed to outfight them and it came down to those details, and if that happens twice, I don't know if that's something that might be a reoccurring theme in that best of 5 as well.
Yeah, I also think Royal Never Give Up have lost more games to themselves than teams have taken off them.
I like that.
When you look at the throw against CLG, when you look at the inability to press the lead against SKT on Friday, Sunday rather, last day of the group stages, I actually think Royal Never Give Up are going to win because their players are performing better. They've got a massive stadium of support behind them, and I think the mistakes that have cost them games can get fixed in a week. But you look at Blank, you look at Duke, I think they're being outperformed by their opposite numbers, MLXG and Looper in the top lane, and I think that's going to be a big problem when you look at best of 5s.
Shucks.
Well, I really want to look at, those players will always look at MLXG doing so good. You always look at Faker for SKT, but I want to look at the support matchup. Of course, we had the big Mata story.
Absolutely.
And when I had the interview with EDG Aaron, and one of the days he said, well, if I was to change anything in SKT, it would be their support. And I followed up on that when I saw him yesterday, and he explained it's not because Wolf is a bad player. It's that his priorities lie differently. He's great in lane, but he's not good at the things that are important in the tournament and in the meta. Roaming, jungle support synergy, and map pressure. And that is why I think Mata and RNG might have an edge.
Yeah,
Well,
I kind of agree. I think like Wolf's champ pool is kind of weird. Like I just feel like he's so much less diverse than the other players here. And if he's not crushing Whoosh in lane, then look, Royal kind of gets off the ground running, and also it's a matter of them picking the right compositions. Like when they lost to CLG, it's because they picked a bunch of non-team fighters. Okay, yes, they failed to close out a game. They kind of screwed around a little bit here, but if they pick proper compositions, and I trust the coaches to have to do so, then I think they're fine coming into late game.
All right, well, the competition is going to be the result we have to look at, and it's going to be coming up quite soon. You can check out that Clash of Titans live from Shanghai Thursday at 10:30 p.m. Pacific, or Friday at 7:30 a.m. if you're in that Central European summertime. Of course, Shanghai is home to more than this Friday's semifinals for MSI. It's home to a beautiful skyline, more than 24 million people, and if you've been watching for the past few years, the LPL, the League of Legends Professional League. And one of the biggest stars from that league, Cool, was nice enough to take a few of our cameras a few hours outside of Shanghai to the beautiful serene water village of Shitang and show us around. A beautiful place that's nice to go when you just want to get AFK for a while.
Hello， 大家好，今天是我们在上海的西塘，上海附近的西塘的一个旅游景点。这边景点呢，就是非常的有南方气息。我觉得来到中国的话，好玩的地方就是这样的古镇吧，我觉得是其他地方可能没有的。这个是馒头，像那种油炸的馒头，我觉得也应该很好吃啊，我吃一下。它里面还有馅。这个叫护国随梁王，我猜应该也是那种拜佛的地方吧，我们进去看看吧。我的心愿就是平平安。哎，这里刚好有零钱，这个地方应该就是可以放零钱的地方。你可以在这里许个愿，但是我等一下会进去许。可以过来吃一吃啊呀，听听歌。然后在这旁边坐一下午，跟朋友聊聊天吧。再见了，大家，下一次再来跟你们玩。
Now, let's shift from the serene surroundings of Shitang to the big light-up stage here in Shanghai, where we've gotten to know the world's best pros even better over the last week of MSI action. Earlier this week, we tweeted out a close-up of one of the semi-finalists to see just how well you actually know the pro still playing for the title. If you guessed that extreme close-up was none other than the Flash Wolves mid laner Maple, baby, that's kind of sappy. The Flashy Wolf dominated the LMS playoffs and continued to prove why he is one of the world's best in the role during the group stage of MSI. Maple led all mid laners in KDA, kill participation, and kill share. He outdueled Faker and went toe-to-toe with Xiaohu, and if the Flash Wolves claw their way to the Mid-Season Invitational title, Maple will be the biggest reason why. So while Maple and his Flash Wolves will be trying to go straight down mid and into the finals, standing in their way with a star surge of confidence is the most surprising team at the Invitational so far, Counterlogic Gaming. CLG swept their 2 group stage head-to-heads against the LMS champs and will be looking to lock down 3 more Ws to earn the North America their first trip to the finals of the international tournament that's stacked with the world's best teams, #1 from all around. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who is going to be taking this game? How is it going to work out? Is CLG kind of just riding a dream here? Are they going to atrophy? How's it working?
I mean, they can be really proud, I think, of what they have accomplished already and how they've grown throughout the tournament. And it was really funny to me because I think I've interviewed them more at this event than I have in the past 5 seasons. And they've been amazing at that.
Dapping out.
But especially like the way they evolved playing their team fights has been amazing.
It really has. You know, you look at all the strengths that CLG had coming into the tournament and some of the perceived weaknesses, and they've not only shown a different style of play that we weren't expecting, the players that we were questioning the most have stepped up. I think Stixay is a guy you have to look at. He was one of the most criticized AD carries coming into the tournament. I personally thought at IM he was incredibly weak. I underrated him quite heavily, looking at how things have played out. But also, this is an interesting matchup because the perceived strengths and weaknesses have been completely different. Everyone's expected Casa and Maple to duo destroy everyone, and Casa has been underperforming. Everybody expected Xmithy and Huhi to struggle, and while Huhi's not been the best, Xmithy's helped counter and bring up some of those weaknesses, and they've worked very well together.
Yeah, I think CLG, honestly, are favorite here overall. I think Flash Wolves are, all respect to them, but the weakest team in the semifinal here. Okay, yeah, they chew out SKT, so like there's that piece there, but this is the best possible semifinal for CLG here, honestly.
I think they've wound down. I think they started really strong when all the teams were still evolving, but I wasn't as impressed with them in their last games of Flash Wolves as I have been in the beginning.
And there's glimmers, right? Like Maple was insane at the beginning and he's still very good. And NL actually had a very good game at the very end there. I think it was the CLG match. He was like getting in the backline, doing a whole lot on the Ezreal, but that's like 1 game out of 10 where I've been actually impressed by NL. And as you mentioned as well, Trevor, like I'm not seeing enough out of Karsa.
Yeah, and
like,
I think...
And he's supposed to be a star here.
And I think if you look at both teams, over all 10 games, CLG have had a higher ceiling, a better understanding of the tournament meta, better performing players across all 10 games. And, you know, I also think just one last thing between Afro and Sword Art. I think Afro's had a better tournament than what we've seen out of Sword Art. He seems to be making better calls. He's working with Darshan very well. And Sword Art, there was a lot of hype, a lot of, you know, pressure on this guy's shoulders, making some poor calls for the Flash Wolves overall, again, over the entire group stage.
And I mean, you saw Sword Art's Bard. He tried to take that away from Afro, and it was actually, like, this is roughly my level of Bard. It's like he missed every single Q off his ultimate. His teammates couldn't combo off it either. Like, the tempered fate's really bad. If that's a fluke, okay, that's fine. But honestly, not impressed by Sword Art when he's trying to steal away picks.
It's also interesting to me because I think at one of the first days of the group stage in an interview, I think Sword Art really said, well, CLG isn't one of the strongest teams here, and kind of everything changed. And mentally, I think it will be very interesting to look at how they perform CLG as well, because Stixay has gone from, I mean, being underrated and nobody expects you're going to do anything to having Blank, Bang, Wujin all saying that he's great. That's kind of turning into almost a meme amongst them. But I do have to say, with Blank, I didn't even directly ask about AD carries, and they did bring him up, and I do think it's meant.
Yeah. There's one final point I want to bring out, though, is who he's getting a ton of flack. And the thing is, he's making high-profile mistakes, right? It's like, okay, we saw this 0 ult miss, and this is 0 ult miss, and he failed to flash like a Callisto ulti, which is really obvious. But actual performance-wise, it's not bad, right? His damage output is there. Okay, yeah, his KDA is kind of crap, but like, he's
making the early game a little tougher.
I mean, right, like, okay, there are obviously mistakes, right? I'm not saying he's perfect. He's definitely a fairly, you know, you're seeing him get exploited, but CLG's running a 1-tank composition. They can't protect the entire backline. Who he's essentially playing a half tank and yet still getting damage out. His damage output's actually fine.
So it sounds like
there's output there.
Sounds like a lot of counter logic gaming from all of you, especially with the time off. Maybe even more adaptation from them could be stronger in the tournament. You can find out if the faithful will be rewarded once again, or will the series be thrown to the wolves. You can catch that on Friday at 10:30 p.m. Pacific, which is Saturday 7:30 a.m. according to Central European time.
Hey everyone, let's talk about Twitter, because it's everyone's favorite segment, because it involves only me and no one else, right? That's why everyone loves this so much. I'm sure it's why. Now let's talk about last week's Twitter question. I was on the Great Wall of China, and I asked you guys to tell us who would be the top 4 teams of the Mid-Season Invitational, and I was wrong. But it included the LPL, the LCK, the LMS, and actually the North American LCS of Counter Logic Gaming, so massive props to all of those of you who got that top 4 correct. It's really impressive. Also, the Hall of Fame question was which would be the first player on the North American and European teams to die? Well, turns out at Breakwon, GG got that one correct, so massive props to you. It was Kikis and Stixay. I had said He. Sadly, I was wrong about that one, but still, huge that you did this one. Let's talk about this week's Twitter question. And first, a little bit of history. Since 2012, almost every single region except North America has won something massive. China's won MSI, the LMS actually won the 2012 World Championship, and Korea's won basically everything else. Obviously, they're a really dominant region. North America, big goose egg for them at Riot competitions. However, maybe this year it changes. The question is, who will win the 2016 Mid-Season Invitational? I didn't predict CLG last time. Maybe I'll predict them this time. I'll say CLG wins. It's a long shot, but I'll go for it. The Hall of Fame question is actually going to be a tricky one. In the finals, which player will first blood which other player in game 1? Which means you have to tell us what the final match is going to be, as well as which player kills which one. So I'm going to say MLXG first bloods He, but I think CLG still wins the overall MSI 2016. Get those in, #PTL at LO Esports before game 1 goes live, which is pretty much the middle of the night in North America and early morning in Europe. So you get those in. Props to you guys. Good luck getting it right.
All right, while you are locking in your Hall of Fame level tweets, I'm going to turn to our Hall of Fame panel and freaks to get their prediction on who will walk off that epic MSI stage with the title and the trophy. Freak, I'm going to start with you since you felt the need to reveal that CLG would win. How do you think it's going to happen, baby?
So I think I jinxed it because I get every Twitter
Already?
question wrong. So now I'm like, I wish I just said Royal so that we could have the faith continue. But yeah, you know, I just have the faith in CLG. Like, they beat every team once, so like, I think they're favorites to get in the finals in the first place, and I think, yes, they can take down Royal SKT, whichever team that is. Teamwork's going to be there. I think He continues to shape up his champion pool. Stixay is continuing to perform really, really highly. The rest of these players, like, we don't give enough credit to Darshan, Smithy, and Afromuth. Those guys are amazing. They're insane players, so it's skill and teamwork, and it's there.
And also already predicting then that SKT will lose to RNG, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I eventually predicted that was going to be Royal. It was really tight, but yeah, I think it's there.
I mean, I'm going to agree with you just because of what seemingly is the MSI magic factor, and on top of that, it's in Shanghai and they have all these people behind them. CLG, RNG, oh, I'm going to give it to RNG in 5 games.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be sad if you were happy about it, but
I get it. Like, it's what most people would probably bet.
Okay.
Like, I get you.
I've had to deal with a lot of salt and jabs from you guys. I'm also going to go RNG versus CLG in the finals. I think CLG can take down Flash Wolves relatively easily. I think 3-0, 3-1. Flash Wolves have shown more mistakes player-wise. Their lane swaps have been pretty poor, and I think CLG is the better team there. RNG, SKT, I also think is going to be a little more one-sided in RNG's favor. I think as a team, they've looked significantly better than SKT. Their players are better. They had a better understanding of the meta, and they had like a better start at prep. And then when it comes to finals, I think for the same reasons RNG are ahead of CLG. I think He against Xiaohu is just going to be a major mismatch, and I think that's really going to hurt them when it comes to that best-of-5 final.
I just think it's awesome that we're discussing this in international tournament. SKT, not the favorite. RNG good. CLG doing well. Woo!
It is going to be quite crazy. So while you process our predictions, it's time to count down the top 5 plays from the Mid-Season Invitational Group Stage, or as the city of Shanghai can now call it, the Penta.
Shifting in to number 5, Flash Wolves NL didn't need a map when he sniped SKT's Faker.
The W's not quite enough there as he's tanking up the turret. There's Juke in there. Makes sure that the tower helps out, and Baker not gonna be dead. This is a true shot barrage! I take it all back! NL takes the snipe.
Taking aim at number 4, CLG Stixay nets himself a quadra kill against RNG.
Let's find out what damage can be done. Mata's taken a lot, but he's still on the front line with that unbreakable will. He's flashed forward, hasn't found anything. Xiaohu's looking to find one back, but the Cowl's already down. Dashan forced to flash defensively, and CLG are on the retreat. A very good stun for Counter Logic Gaming. A double kill for Stixay. He manages to 90 caliber net, finds the triple, looking for the quadra. Xiaohu's running for his life. He gets one. Stixay shuts him down. It's a quadra kill for America.
At number 3, SKT's Wolf used his head to send G2's Trick to an early grave.
Wolf not getting caught out though. No ultimate available. Oh, that is absolutely sick.
What?
That's just disgusting.
Oh, you can't see him walk back. Wow.
RNG's Looper brought the hammer down on CLG's Stixay in our number 2 play.
Teleport's coming down for Looper. Quadra kill for Stixay. Here comes Looper. Stixay's looking for the fight. He's got a lot of damage to deal with. He's got a lot of traps to work with. He's chasing it down. This is for a Penta. Running away with his life. No stun against the wall. Stixay continues to fire away. Looks for the headshots. The 90 caliber net follows through. The longest fight ever. Looper wins it. Call your family, call your friends. MSI is bonkers already.
And coming in at number 1, CLG's Xsmithy took a leap of faith with his clutch Dragon Steel.
CLG just have to force. They have no...
They get the bind on Mata. Can they do it? They have just bind Baron. A Dragon ain't dying, I should say. Stixay does get Mata. The Dragon goes down. It's secured by Xsmithy. That is the first one for them. Can they do it? Oh, can you believe? Do you have the faith in CLG? Because they just secured 3. Looking for 4. Looking for it. And can they end on this one?
Are you kidding me? Smithy goes in and he lambs with spites to keep the Dragon alive so they can't get 5th Dragon during the fight. Holy moly!
Damn, smite the pride back in NA.
Finally. I mean, good thing St. Vicious didn't go, otherwise we'd never gotten that one.
Go. We'd still be waiting for years. So if the group stages have taught us anything besides NA is greater than EU, it's that MSI has been packed with Penta-worthy plays. And if you want to see one of those plays put into Penta, then make sure you send it to us at LOL Esports and use the hashtag, as always, the Penta.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time before we live that one down. Yep. But Riv, we do have a PSA about PTL because we will be taking a mid-season break after the Mid-Season Invitational. So the next episode of PTL will be starting on June the 1st at the regular scheduled time, and the European premiere streaming will begin 1 hour before the summer split, and 2 streams, baby.
2 streams. So before we send ourselves over to the Oriental Sports Center for the semifinals and finals themselves, let's check in one more time with LPO's Cool to demonstrate why he won't be playing Marksman anytime soon in our last hit.
是这样拿枪吗？对，这样子。
这样。对，这样。头歪一点，闭一只眼，闭这只眼，向那只眼看，打这个的地方。你稍微抬高一点，每一次得打这个地方，一直向前看。对，走人。好，10块钱。还是没有好。
我觉得我不适合打一点。你觉得你？哇，这样子我都打不中的，我也不想打了。
Looper is actually going to have to back off, but can they flank again? Darshan a little low, Deathmark onto Huhi, and they're starting to help, but Xiaohu is shut down by Stixay. I don't know how this one's going to turn out, and that's insane. Looper is going low, but he chrono breaks back. A double kill for Huhi. A kill
Stixay is going on! I can't
believe it. A triple kill. That's going to be the ace. Looper is down. CLG. Do you believe Kobe?
Did it! Are you kidding me? They're gonna take down the undefeated team here at MSI!
And
I never doubted them! I never doubted them!